everyone. Welcome to this episode of Entrepreneur Showcase Series brought to you by Patranya Media LLC and Parkway Media Partners. I'm your host, Patranya Bhoolsuwan, and today we have a very special guest in the studio. His name is Elias Benjelloun, and he's an author, an educator, and an entrepreneur doing great things here in the Las Vegas community. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Patranya.
So great to have you. And I've known you for a while now, but I really never got a chance to sit down and interview you and get a chance to know your story. But this is a perfect time because, as you can show us, you have this really great book that just came out this summer, right?
Yeah, that's right. Butterflies Move Freely, my book where I share my story as a dreamer and make a call to action for comprehensive reform.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about this because your book is really, I think it'll be inspiring and educational for a lot of people. Butterflies Move Freely. I love that name as well. So, Elias, before we go there, talk to us a little bit about you.
Sure.
You've done a lot of great things, but your story is something that's quite unique, right? So when people come to you and just say, Elias, tell us your story, what's usually the first thing that people ask, and what is the thing that people don't think to ask, or you think is something that's really kind of interesting and unique about you?
Yeah, for sure. I think, I feel as American as everybody else here in this
and you sound American,
community.
you look American, right? But your story is quite unique.
Yeah, I came to America as a 2-year-old, and my parents were pursuing asylum under religious persecution.
And you're originally from?
So I'm originally from Morocco, which is a Muslim country, relatively more progressive than the rest of the Arab world.
Yeah.
Nonetheless,
were you born in Morocco?
I was born in the Netherlands.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so my dad went from Morocco to the Netherlands for college, for higher education, met my mom, had me, and then they came to America when they converted to Christianity.
Oh, wow.
And so I grew up here,
Was it in Las Vegas, or were you somewhere else before you came here?
Oh, yeah, thank you. So, no, I grew up all over the East Coast, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Florida, South Carolina. Actually, because I grew up in like a multi-language household, I didn't speak a lick of anything until I was about 4. And when I finally spoke, I had a Southern accent as a 5-year-old. So,
Was that where you were living at the time?
Yes, in South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I went through all of the school systems, public
Yeah.
school, private school, homeschool, Christian school, online school. After homeschooling, I had to take some state testing. They said, hey, this 12-year-old is actually at a 10th grade level.
Wow.
And so I got admitted into high school, and that led me to graduating at 14. By that time, I was in Vegas, and I grew up from then here in Las Vegas and went to UNLV. And pursued higher education there.
Yeah, and you've done really well because you graduated at 14, went to UNLV, and you became the youngest, UNLV student body president?
Yeah, it's a funny story. I tell folks that because I was homeschooled, I was on campus, and my way of meeting folks was, hey, do you want to duel, play some Yu-Gi-Oh, to hold my Yu-Gi-Oh cards? And so I really matured on campus, and then the students elected me student body president. And so that role, I was managing $1 million budget, representing 23,000 undergrads, and we did a lot of work for student rights.
Yeah. So, you've definitely been very active in the community, but you deal with a lot of stuff happening with your family as well, and that is a big part of why you wanted to share that story, right?
Yeah, for sure. As somebody who grew up here, it's really hard to even understand what it meant to be an undocumented immigrant. But the reality came true in 2017 when my sister, who was 18, she was 6 months old when she came to America.
Wow.
But when she was 18, she got detained by ICE and put on deportation. And that shattered our family. And then following that, I was next, and my parents were next, and we had to rebuild our lives outside of this country. I was rebuilding my businesses and my community work out in this country called Malta, an island south of Italy. And we chose that for affordability and for English speaking because I don't speak any other
And how old were you when
languages.
you had to go there?
I believe I was 23.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so your whole family was just trying to rebuild, come back here in Malta.
I was the first one to leave to kind of get the lay of the land, put the deposits on the house, try to get a job. And then my sister, she had to come next, and then my parents and the rest of my family.
So now are you all back in the U.S.?
Unfortunately, no. And that's why I wrote this book. It's been 5 years since I've seen my mom and dad.
Wow.
All I really want to do is give my mom a hug.
Yeah.
But if I leave this country now, I'll have a permanent ban, and I'll never be able to come back. And my parents can't come back because they have a ban now. And so The immigration system is outdated, it's complex, and it's not really designed with inclusivity in mind, and that's why I'm sharing my story. Patranya, when I was in college and I realized that I was undocumented and I couldn't get any scholarships or anything like that, and when I was student body president, I was so afraid of outing myself, and I'm so thankful for the brave folks that did lead the message back then, but I was so scared about my family getting deported that I never talked about it. And then it happened. And I was able to come back. And so now I've been through that experience, and I want to share that story so that other folks that have grown up here don't experience what a deportation looks like.
And so many people are living that story and knowing what you've gone through, but there's so many other people who don't either. But you want to bridge that understanding. And how easy or how tough has it been for you to be able to share that story and get people to really understand where you're coming from?
It really depends on who you're talking to. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. And there's a lot of vitriol that's out there as well. And so, I wish I could say it was easy. I'm so grateful for all the supporters. I've had many folks, sign this copy. It's the first copy of the book, signatures everywhere. And when I get home at night and it's something that I seriously just want to cry about, I open this book and I just read the signatures of support from my community. And that gives me the power to keep going, because it is hard when folks are telling you to go back to your country or to get out of here. Some of the racist stuff that's happening, and I've seen that in my own business community. I've experienced some of that, and so my hope with this is to spark a conversation, bring more compassion into the conversation, and educate people on how the system's so flawed and what we should do or what we might do to make it better.
And talk to me about some, we'll get into the book in just a little bit, but you've had some inspirational people in your life, and you actually shared a picture of you with one of those people out there, and we're going to share that picture that you showed with former President Barack Obama, right? Let's show this picture. You look pretty young then. Tell me about that moment.
I think I was 17 at that moment, and I was such an active college organizer. I was president of the Young Dems. I was involved with student government, and I got.
Was that here
call.
in Las Vegas?
It was here in Las Vegas. I got a call. They said, "Hey, we want to vet you through the Secret Service so that you can meet President Obama." And I have to tell you, the first time I heard President Obama give a speech at the DNC, it really ignited a flame in me to think more about the role government plays in people's lives. And so this was almost like a dream come true when I got to meet him. And it was a great experience. He came and spoke on college affordability over at UNLV in I want to say 2012.
Yeah, and now over a decade later, I think that still kind of inspired you, right? And to bring this book, but not just to write this book, but to make a change, hopefully politically as well.
Yeah, I think, when I listened to President Obama speak on this issue, the DREAM Act not getting passed is one of his greatest disappointments.
Right.
And I think he's one of the few politicians who truly understands what it might feel like growing up as an immigrant in this country, integrating into this country, believing that you're just as American as everybody else, but because of a piece of paper, not getting access to so many things, and even being at risk of deportation.
So let's go to this book, because you've worked hard. And how long did it take you, or it's just kind of been a work in progress?
Yeah, I was inspired to write it 2 years ago, and I've been working on it pretty intensely since last year summer.
Wow. And I know I've been trying to start something of my own. I know it's hard. I should talk to you about this later and to get this process going.
Happy
But
to help.
obviously you have a lot of inspiration leading you to write this book. So talk to me about the name, first of all. Butterflies Move Freely. Where did you get that name from?
Well, I just thought, butterflies are so beautiful in nature. They elicit, peace and calmness for folks. And butterflies actually take that migration, much like humans do for all of, human history. Butterflies have been migrating up and down the north and south border of North America. And so, I thought that was a great representation to kind of cast dreamers as.
Yeah, so dreamers, and they're the butterflies in this book,
yeah,
right?
and I actually want to expand it beyond just dreamers and to this concept of new Americans, right? America is a beacon of hope, right? And it's not just for the opulent stranger, but it's also for the oppressed. And that's not my quote. That's President George Washington. Most presidents have put out a message that America is a place of hope and is welcoming.
Yeah.
And I think these folks that are trying to come into America are much like butterflies.
So tell me about the people that you talk to in this book? Was it hard to find them, for them to open up and talk to you? Talk to us about that process.
It is so challenging. You know,
Yeah.
folks have that fear of
Yeah.
outing themselves and receiving that backlash, whether
Yeah.
from ICE or from their community. But there are many brave folks that I'm working with now and documenting their stories. And every time the story goes somewhere similarly, you know, there's an element of family separation,
Yeah.
and there's an element of a lack of stability. And there's an element of this fear that everything could be taken away from you overnight. And,
Yeah.
and I really resonate with that because, you know, my family lived through that. And so my hope is that we can make a more humane, inclusive process so that folks don't have to live in that fear.
So how did you do a lot of these interviews? Did you have to assure them that you're going to protect them and their stories, and how did that happen?
So the folks that are sharing their story are sharing it openly, and then I have folks who are sharing their story anonymously and being involved more anonymously. But
Right.
but my goal with this is to really spotlight dreamers that are making a positive
And I
impact.
think we have this approach, and we want to pull up this
Yeah.
really quick, because you want to take this not just having the book, right?
Right.
There's more to this. So talk to us about your dream of seeing this
Yeah,
happen.
thank you. I set this up as a company. You know, I take my background in technology and entrepreneurship and social impact, and I'm pouring all I got into this initiative.
Yeah.
And so the book and some of the merch that we have at butterfliesmovefreely.com is a starting point, and then we're doing media and events to educate folks.
Right.
We're doing the interviews. The funds are helping us. The goal with the funds is to establish a legal aid fund so that we can help dreamers navigate DACA, help dreamers navigate the complicated immigration process. And my hope is to establish a resource app and really rethink or reimagine what the system could look like. Right now, folks that are coming in, they get fingerprinted, a tap on the back, and then pushed out into the country. And to me, that's not a proper immigration system.
Yeah.
You know, for the folks that are trying to come in and make this their home, could we connect them to resources around the country so that we can make sure that they're healthy, that their kids are going to school, that they're not being exploited for work, and that they are being safe and contributing members of society. And so my app intends to provide those resources to the public and allow people with the click of a button to be represented by us legally. And, you know, this has been a very powerless process for me. I felt extremely powerless with my immigration journey, but my hope is that by combining dreamers all around the country, that we can speak truth to power from a position of power and advocate for comprehensive immigration reform.
And you know that leading into just doing all this is your tech background really can be helpful with this, and you've really done a lot. Talk to us a little bit about that role that you've played in the tech community here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, thank you. So I have a company, it's called Tech Starts, where we're implementing the most advanced technologies for business applications. And so, you know, we do web design, we do graphic design, sure, but we also build AI-powered web apps that help power several businesses here in town and some of the nonprofits that we get to work with. And really the goal there is to help optimize their processes, make them more efficient. They can impact more people that way. And so my background has long been with tech. I was a self-taught web designer when I was 14, came in clutch to help me pay my way through college. And then after college, I was able to join the Uber team when they relaunched here in Vegas. I was able to join that team and help rebuild some of their bridges here. And I've done several venture-backed tech startups. I've worked with over 100 different companies around the world on their technologies, and we do that right here in Las Vegas.
And that's still your passion. I mean, you still love that side of your work, right?
Absolutely.
And your business.
Yeah.
And, you know, and this book, once it comes out, or it's already out, but who are you hoping to reach? Obviously, you don't want it to just reach one audience, right? You want people, do you feel like different types of people can really get something out of your book?
Yeah, I think there's two audiences that I want to speak to. You know, one is the folks who are other dreamers that are afraid, and you know, I hope that this book can bring them some consolation, bring them some inspiration, and bring back hope that we can have this dream, this American dream.
Yeah.
But I also want to educate the folks who are outside of that, who don't understand immigration or who might not know immigrants, so that they can read the story of immigrants around the country that are making incredibly positive contributions in their community. And I hope that by sharing and celebrating those stories, that folks will open their minds and not default to the hate and vitriol that sometimes the national media likes to portray.
Can you share, you know, one story, which obviously you don't have to name anyone, but is there a special story, someone that you talked to that really stuck with you while writing this book?
You know, there's one story that comes to mind about how much scarier the immigration process is for other people, even scarier than the experience that I had. And I'm talking about a family that tried to immigrate here from Iraq, and they were also being persecuted religiously. And what's crazy is that there are terrorist organizations in parts of the world that will commit atrocious acts on families in daylight, in public, and celebrate that. So this family was fleeing that. They actually had a family member experience that. And they were able to come to America, and it was through the help of a local immigrant lawyer that they were able to stay in America and get their asylum status. But under the Trump administration, they tried to get ICE tried to remove them and deport them, and they claimed, oh, well, the terrorist problem, it doesn't exist anymore. You're totally fine to go back home. But that is not the reality for so many folks that are fleeing persecution in their homes.
Yeah, but I think, you know, as a former journalist, I feel like a lot of times you see headlines and they talk about immigration or, you know, issues with immigrants or undocumented. Like, it becomes like buzzwords, right? And it's not until you meet the people who are affected and reading about these personal stories that, you know, you really better understand what's happening.
Yeah.
And is that kind of what you think? Have you talked to some people who've read your book, and what have been some kind of the responses that they've given you?
Yeah, I'm so grateful for an overwhelmingly positive response.
Yeah. And I want to show some pictures. I think this is from an event that you organized, right, where you were able to get the word out about your book, and you were able to share this book with a number of people in the community. So talk to us about that event.
Yeah, thank you. There was a Spanish business mixer that is happening over at Sin City Seafood downtown. They're going to do that every month, and I was lucky enough to be able to sponsor a table so that I can talk to fellow Spanish business owners, dreamers, some of the folks. You know, it happened to be that the DNC watch party was happening that night, so I ran into a ton of folks in our community. So they bought out all my books, all my merch, signed copies, joined the message, and
you were signing the books for people there as
Absolutely.
well. Yeah, and how does it feel being able to kind of get this book finally out in the public and getting people, you know, to see the responses that they've given you?
You know, it is. I think it's the start of a journey that, for me, is going to be a lifelong journey.
This is just a start, right?
V1, right?
Yeah.
And I, you know, frankly, I rushed to get this book out so that I can engage in the dialogue that's happening now, because I was just tired of seeing the vitriol and being painted as somebody.
And I think
that's
this is
so
the
negative.
time people are talking about potential change that could happen,
Absolutely.
you know, just within months maybe, right? So do you feel like that energy around you, that people kind of taking these stories a little bit more, like with more powerful impact?
I really hope so.
Yeah.
I randomly, or not necessarily randomly, but I had the opportunity to share my book and story with U.S. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto.
Yeah, I think we have a story with her, a picture there, right? And you met her, and you share. What did she have to say?
Well, the senator has been a fierce advocate for immigration, and just as early as this year has put out a call to her colleagues to revisit immigration reform. There is the U.S. Citizens Act of 2023 that was put together through bipartisan legislation and collaboration, but was sank because of politics.
Yeah.
But the problem is, you know, there's folks who have waited on this for so long. You know, I'm not really a kid anymore, all right? And there's so many folks all around the country that came here as kids and are left out of the system. And I really hope that folks like Senator Masto and our new president can usher in some comprehensive reform that's built on inclusion and built on the values of the American people.
Yeah. And this, you said this is just a start, and you want people to come to you and share their stories, and you're building kind of a pipeline for that to happen.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I'm building Butterflies Move Freely as a web app, so you can go there and you can share your story with me so that I can highlight you in a future copy of the book. And if you don't want your story to be shared publicly, I'll still love to talk to you, find out ways that we can collaborate. You know, something else, if that's okay to mention, I'm in the process of building a letters of support engine. So for a lot of immigrants, having letters of support from American citizens can help you with your case. And so to make that process easier, I'm building a web app that's AI powered that will automatically help folks format and document the letters of support, be able to sign it, and then that gets sent to the Dreamer. And my goal with that is to have thousands, if not more, letters of support that I can help present to Congress for actual people that would benefit from something like the U.S. Citizens Act.
Yeah, you have some great projects going here, and be able to do this here in Vegas. Do you feel this community has come behind you and supported you throughout this process?
Yeah, I'm so grateful. You know, Vegas has raised me. I was that homeschooled kid on the college campus, and there's been so many mentors who I've been able to learn from, and I do my best to pay it forward. And so I hope that we can take this culture and share that with the rest of the country.
Yeah, and I know your family, you said, watching you from afar, supporting you. What's your hopes and dreams? I mean, if you can look 5 years from now, what do you want to see in your life?
The reality, Patranya, the main thing that's driving me is I want to give my mom a hug.
Yeah.
And I want to stop family separations from happening in this country.
Yeah, that's your goal, right? And how can people reach you? And if they want to help you and support you, what can they do?
I want to encourage folks to go to butterfliesmovefreely.com, and there's many ways that folks can get involved, whether that's writing a letter of support, sharing their story, subscribing to attend events. Of course, you can purchase the book, but if you also come see me at an event, I'll probably just give you one.
Do you have anything coming up that you want people to know about? Is it going to be on your website and social media?
I will be adding all of our upcoming events on the butterfliesmovefreely.com website. And so we will be continuing to support immigrant businesses here in the community. We'll continue to do outreach events. I'm looking for candidates and electeds who want to lean in on the immigration conversation, and we can do events together.
Awesome. Well, Elias, you're doing amazing things. Big congratulations on your book, and I wish you all the success.
Thank you so much, Patranya.
Yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for watching this episode of Entrepreneur Showcase Series, and we'll see you again next time.